And 3, 2, 1. Welcome to The Peaceful Truth, the podcast where we talk about everything from women empowerment, feminism, and everything in between. You are joined by your host, Kenzie Meekbeck. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode this week. We love to cover here at The Peaceful Truth, or I love to cover current events. So anything that's happening to our modern day woman that I find impactful or something to talk about and relevant on this podcast. So I like to kind of keep up to date with the headlines, not only just because it's good to always keep up with the headlines. I'm a former journalist, but I also like to keep up with the headlines in order to see if there's any women's stories to tell you guys to A, inspire you, or B, maybe spark change and change minds. So this past week or 2 weeks prior, on Saturday, March 2nd, there was this prestigious cycling race in Belgium. I competed one time, and why this kind of also really hardcore sparked my personal interest is because I competed one time in a century race, not compete, but participated in. I just wanted to complete it. And it was really hard to train for. And a century race is a 100-mile bike race. And I just got a lot of respect for the sport, a lot of respect for how much it takes to become better and how much skill and precision and endurance it actually takes to actually be really good at cycling. So I gained a lot of respect. And so on March 2nd in Belgium, a female cyclist ended up catching up to her male counterparts, but she was forced to stop when she did. Not only that, but the women's race started 10 minutes after the men's. So she was able to catch up to all those really speedy guys. And to be honest, I've trained with guys that are really proficient that just want to help me out and help me out in cycling, but it's really hard. They're like, the physical body of a man is obviously different and the biology is obviously different. And so it was hard to keep up with them, and props to her to even catching up, because that must have been really hard. So this woman ended up placing 74th after she was stopped when she caught up to the men's race. It just, hearing that she was number one in the women's and then being stopped at 74th just sounds like such a punishment to me, that just for catching up with men. But again, it might have not been the race. The official race itself claims it was due to safety, which I'll get into it in just a second. So this woman's name, who's a badass, is Nicole Hanselman, and she's 27-year-old cyclist, Swiss cyclist. Hanselman pulled ahead of all the other women around the 4-mile mark, so she was booking it. And by the way, I got all this info from CBS's website. Article was by Christopher Brito and The Guardian's Alex Hess. So I'm going to attempt to pronounce this bicycle race. The Omloop Het Nieuwsbald race, I really butchered that, claims that they stopped her due to safety reasons again. This is because when she caught up, or nearly caught up with her male counterparts, she apparently found herself very close to the male race's support vehicles. So there's like ambulance and different support vehicles that right alongside cyclists, just in case something is to happen. And I'm assume it's on high alert when it's really proficient races like these. So the organizers decided to neutralize the women's race to restore the gap, and they gave Hanselman a head start. But she had to stop for 5 to 7 minutes, which she says killed her energy and momentum, which I completely agree with. I can definitely see that happening. You're running on adrenaline, you're running on this high of being in first, and you're feeling this competitive edge, and then you're stopped for 5 to 7 minutes. Not only that, but she mentioned in another article, another one of her quotes had to do with the fact that other women had seen her stop, so it gave them a drive to beat her and even race harder, because they saw it was a possibility at this point. So from being, I thought, one, it was really badass that she was able to catch up with the men, and I think that's a huge something to say in itself, and how much of a badass she is. But then it's the counter of that is it's so depressing, because this woman that was able to compete with a biologically different human and catch up to that and be a badass in that category and she was punished for it. Even if it was for safety reasons, like I just wish there was a backup protocol to that, like even something to make that not happen, because she could have won first. But it was really cool that she was able to catch up with the men's division. So again, the organizers claimed it was due to safety. I obviously don't know if that was true, don't know if I was there. I wasn't there, obviously, so I don't know. But what do you think the solution is here? Would it be having them start at the same time as the men and counting men and women separately altogether, or putting them in a group? Obviously not, because it's been different for some reason. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. Having an even more delayed of a start. Overall, though, it just wasn't fair, even though it was due to safety reasons, and it just sucks. Write me or send me a message if you have thoughts on this, but what would you do to make the race more equal? I have no idea what I would do, and I think it's sad, though, that if it was for safety reasons, that had to stop her, and I think it's also sad if it wasn't for safety reasons, if something happened there, but I don't know what the solution would be. I also wanted to mention, though, that we're talking about cyclists. An American cyclist and Olympic cyclist, Kelly Catlin, died at age 23 this week, and she excelled in all areas of life. She was going to Stanford. It seems like she excelled in academics and everything like that, and she also won a silver in the last Summer Olympics. But since we were talking about powerful female cyclists, I thought it was an appropriate time to just remember her. So my good thing for this week, I didn't even think about it. I am looking forward to cooking and exercising. I have been exercising all this week. I said that as my last week's good thing. So I want you to think about what's positive in your life and what you're looking forward to. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I'll see you next week. Tune in for some really good interviews. Bye, guys.